Hi guys, this is Lauren with Lauren Watkins Art, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Mungyo Gallery Soft Pastels. So this is advertised as Mungyo's artist grade and artist quality soft pastels. They are hand formed and they are a traditional size of pastel stick. So these are a full stick, not a half stick. The packaging that these come in are really nice and really durable. So you're not going to worry about the box breaking down or falling apart. I like to keep the sleeve on mine so the lid doesn't fall off. But it's really nice packaging that's really going to protect your pastels. And when you're spending money on pastels, you want them to be protected. Inside the box, there's a pamphlet that gives you basic information about the company and these pastels, and then it gives you a color breakdown of all the colors offered in their gallery line. My favorite thing about this pamphlet is it gives you a breakdown of what colors are offered in each set. So they are broken down into basic sets, portrait sets, and landscape sets, and then they're color coded and they're next to each color available in their line, and it lets you know if that color is available in that set. That can just be a helpful guide in knowing what sets you want to get and what colors you want to pick out. So here is a close-up of the set of 30. This is just of their basic set, so it's not a coordinated one for portraits or landscapes. Here's a close-up of their orange in the set. You can see it's very pigmented. Don't drop it, it will break. And you can see that it's leaving a lot of color on my hands. That's a sign that it's one, very pigmented, and two, very soft. It doesn't have any weird coating on it to keep it together, and it's not overly compressed. So you can tell it's a handmade pastel. I ended up splurging and getting the set of 60 as well, which arrived right when I was doing the voiceover. So I thought I would give you a little shot of what colors come with the set of 60. Most of my review will be focusing on the set of 30, but I just wanted you to know what was in the set of 60 to help you know which one would work best for you if you're interested in buying these. The packaging is still the same quality, still really nice. And the interesting thing with these is that all the colors found in the set of 30 are also found in the set of 60. So there's tons of duplicates. So it is kind of important that I show you what's in the set of 30 versus the set of 60. That way you're not stuck with a ton of duplicates. My oldest daughter is old enough to use these kinds of pastels, and she wanted a set. So I upgraded my set, and she's going to be using my old set of 30. So you can see there's a lot more neutrals and a lot more green tones that come in the set of 60, which really appealed to me because I use those a lot in my work because I do a lot of landscape pastel work and I do a lot of portraits. So here is a side-by-side comparison of how big these pastels are to other brands. So this is a Mungyo pastel compared to a Mount Vision pastel. You can see that the Mount Vision one is quite a bit longer. I think Mount Visions are like the biggest pastels in general that you can get. You can see it compared to a soft form Diane Townsend pastel, which is quite a bit smaller. The soft form is a lot softer than these ones. Schmincke pastel is a little bit longer and it's a lot skinnier. So it's a little bit more fragile than these are because they're so much thinner, and they're a lot softer of a pastel than these are. And then I found that out of my collection, these were the most similar in size to the Unison soft pastels. They are about the same thickness and about the same length. So just to give you a guide so you know how much pastel you're actually getting. So I'm going to be swatching the colors for you. This is with the set of 30, and the top paper I'm swatching on is UArt sanded paper. I believe it's 400 grit. And the bottom paper is just watercolor paper that is cold press. It's a Canson's XL watercolor paper, nothing fancy. I'm just swatching the colors so you can see how they lay down on a couple different types of paper, and so you can see if the color of the stick matches what comes down when you apply it to the paper, because there have been a few pastels I've used that what it looks like in stick form doesn't look like how it applies. So they are kind of like a medium soft pastel. I think they are very similar in hardness to the Unison soft pastels, so they're a little bit softer than the Mountain Vision ones. So they're right there in that Unison, Jack Richardson soft pastels. I would say that these might be a skosh softer than the Jack Richardson soft pastels, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. So I bought this set about 3 months ago off of Amazon, and I've done some artwork just using these pastels so that I could see how well this set works and if it's a good one to get started with. And I've also used it with my other pastels as I've worked on other projects to see how well these play with the pastels I have, so I can get an idea of how they compare to other brands, etc. And I've found that I really like these pastels. I felt like the color selection was a really good one for a starting set of 30 that was just general colors. It wasn't for landscape in particular or portraits in particular. It was just giving you general colors to get started. And I felt like the way these colors layered and the way you could build upon them, you could really use just the set of 30 to do quite a bit of work, especially if you're going to do things like underpaintings using watercolors or inks, or if you are going to use a more textured paper so that you can do a lot of layers and blend your pastel colors together. That way you can maximize the colors in this set to create new ones. And then here is the swatches from the set of 60, just so you can use it as a guide in deciding which set you want to buy if you're interested. So you can see the first one was on the sanded paper, and then this one is on the watercolor paper. So one thing I wanted to test with these pastels was to see how well they blended out with rubbing alcohol. This is a technique I use a lot in my underpaintings, where I'll sketch in the basic shapes and I'll put in a base layer of color down, and then I'll blend it with rubbing alcohol. And then once it's dry, I'll do my layers of pastels over the top. These blended out so nicely with the rubbing alcohol. They're so pigmented that you don't have to use a ton of pastel to get color payoff when you blend it out. And they are so soft and they don't have a lot of fillers, so you don't get a funky texture underneath. They almost look like watercolor when I was blending them out, and I really enjoyed that. You can blend these out with water. The only thing is it will take a little bit longer to dry, and you have to be careful not to use too much water because it can warp your paper if there's too much water on there for too long. So let's talk about pricing and availability for these pastels. So on Amazon, which is where I bought both my sets, a set of 30 retails for around $39.33, so roughly about $1.31 per stick. The set of 60 was $92.97, which breaks down to about $1.52 per stick. The other main place I found these at in the US online was at Jerry's Artorama, which is an online store similar to Dick Blick. The pricing was pretty comparable to Amazon. I just found it for a better deal when I was purchasing it on Amazon versus Jerry's, but it kind of fluctuates. So just something to keep in mind at the time you're buying, that it's worth checking out multiple places because who might be offering the better deal might change. The other thing Jerry's has that Amazon didn't is that Jerry's offers more sets. So if you want the landscape set versus a different set, Jerry's offered those. And then they also sell them open stock in boxes of 3. So if you want to buy a specific color, you can on Jerry's, but you have to buy it in a box of 3, which means you're getting 3 of the same color. Sometimes they are listed about just over $12, but they do go on a super sale and you can get them for about $6, so about $2 a stick there. It is more money to buy pastels open stock in general. Diane Townsend pastels, like I showed you earlier, are like $5 almost a piece in open stock. But if you just need one color or two colors, it's cheaper to buy open stock versus buying a whole set just for the one color. These pastels are probably one of the best deals you can get for full-size, handmade, artist quality pastels. Just for comparison, the full stick set of Jack Richardson pastels on Dick Blick is $107 for a set of 36 pastels. So for 6 more pastels, you are spending $107 versus the $39 that you're spending on these. Their half stick set for 48 pastels is $85. So you're getting more colors, but you're still spending a lot more money. So for a full-size stick set, this is a really good deal. And you can tell that these pastels are handmade. I haven't really had any issues with breaking. The only time I've had issues with breaking is like an imperfection that's like right on the edge of the pastel if I push down a certain way. And that comes from them being handmade. But I haven't had any big cracks or breaks with these pastels, which has been really nice. So what did I like about these pastels? I really enjoyed the texture of them. They weren't so hard that they were scratchy or hard to lay down color on your paper, but they weren't so soft that they crumbled or filled in the tooth of the paper quickly. So you got a nice balance between it. You got enough color payoff that you could blend and lay down color without pushing hard, but you didn't have to worry about the tooth of your paper getting filled in really quickly or about the pastel crumbling or breaking because they were too soft. Another thing I really liked about these pastels was the color saturation. And it had good dark colors that could stand out against a dark background. Like you can see here, you had good color saturation in the sense that they weren't gray or muted out because of a lot of fillers or binders. They were saturated, which gives you a lot more options when you're blending. So you may not have the perfect color you want, but you can add a little bit of white to it or something like that to lighten it up. But since these had a good color saturation, you can do that without it turning gray or going to white. You got a lot of blendability options with the set that I really, really enjoyed. I also really liked the size of these pastels. Since they're a little bit thicker, they don't break very easily. It makes them a little bit more durable. It also makes them easier to grab onto with your fingers. Sometimes the thinner pastels, especially when they're broken into half sticks, once they're used a little bit, they can be a little bit tricky to hold onto, especially when they're being used on their side for like wider strokes of color. So these were a really nice size that you could really utilize the pastel more fully. So what are some cons to these pastels? Well, one con is they're not sold in person in very many places. So I haven't been able to find them in any of my local art stores. I had to purchase them online. So if you're someone that prefers to try them out or whatever it is, they're a little bit harder of a brand to find for that. They're also not sold on a ton of places online. They're easy to find, like you can Google them, but the main places I found to buy them were places like Jerry's Artorama or Amazon. I think Dakota Pastels had them as well. So that's something to keep in mind. So in terms of quality, I would say these pastels rank right up there with Mount Vision, Unison, Sennelier. I really, really like these pastels. That's why I bought another set of them, even though technically I don't need any more pastels. My husband shakes his head whenever I get new ones, and I'm trying really hard not to buy more supplies, but I really, really like these pastels. However, one of the biggest drawbacks with these pastels is that there's only 200 colors in the line if you buy the complete set. That can be a bit of a disappointment if you already have a lot of colors to choose from and you just want to get some new pastels because you might get some duplicate colors, and that you can't get a lot of value variation for each color. So in some of these more expensive brands, you can pick out cadmium red and you can get 30 different versions of cadmium red, ranging from white to almost black cadmium red, and you can get every color in between there. And that's part of what makes those brands so expensive, is that they offer so many colors and that you can buy sets like that. Now, you can blend these colors. You can make whatever color you want by blending on your paper. But if that's not a style you like working in, or if you are working on a paper that can't take a lot of layers, it might be a bit of a drawback to have to do a lot of layering to achieve the color you're looking for. One bummer about these pastels is that there are a lot of duplicates from one set to another. So say you wanted to buy a set of 15 to just try these pastels out before you forked out the money for a bigger set, to fork out that money over and over and over again. So just keep that in mind when you are picking out what sets you want to get. If you want to try out the set of 15 and you really like them, it might be worth saving up and waiting until you can buy a set of 60 or something, so you don't end up with too many duplicates in your collection. So who would I recommend these pastels for? I would recommend them for someone who's just starting out, that is wanting to build their artist quality pastel collection. So say you're getting into pastels and you don't have a ton and you need to get some more colors kind of quickly. These are a great affordable option that give you quality pastels. So you're getting a lot for how much you're spending. I would also recommend these for like teenagers who are wanting to get nicer quality art supplies as well. I feel like they're a great option and a good middle ground between kind of child art supplies and quality pastel supplies that kind of take your art to the next level. If you have a lot of pastels already, I don't know if you would get a lot out of these per se, unless you're looking for something that is that kind of medium hardness that's not overly soft or overly hard, because there's a lot of pastel companies that make the colors available in these. So if you have a big selection, it might be kind of redundant to get these, but these are great pastels to get as well if you are going to be traveling with your pastels. So if you do a lot of plein air pastel work, these are a very durable pastel of good quality, so you can take them hiking with you. If you're going to be traveling to an art class or something like that, these are also a great option, because you don't want to be taking your really expensive fragile pastels with you in a bag or anything like that where they can get broken or damaged. So that is about all I have to say about these pastels. I'm going to just let you guys finish the speed painting, and then I will join you at the end of the video. So that is my review of the Mungyo Gallery soft pastels, of both the 30 set and the 60 set. If you have any questions about these, please leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. If you like this video, please hit the like button. That really helps me out. And if you want to see more of what I create, please hit the subscribe button. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.